Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Melissa Slaymaker. I work for Women in Tech, a global movement. I'm the Africa Regional Director and also the Global Partnership Director. And today I'm very excited as we are going to be hosting an amazing leader, Women in Tech leader, and winner of our Women in Tech Global Lifetime Achievement Award of 2023. And I'm very excited to be introducing our speaker today, who will be doing a fireside chat with. For those that are obviously following Women in Tech, we have regional and global awards towards the end of the year. And keep following us on LinkedIn so that you know how to be nominated for the next round of awards that will be taking place from globally from August to October, and a global awards will be in November, with the final destination to be announced very soon. So without further ado, I would love to just read a little bit of an introduction for our speaker today. Which is, of course, Dr. Mamokgethi Phakeng, who is a renowned academic boasting a wealth of experience spanning over 2 decades of an executive across various institutions of higher learning in South Africa, and most recently held the position of Vice Chancellor at the University of Cape Town, a top university in Africa. She also, following her career and early retirement, has also been appointed by the President of the Republic of South Africa to serve on the Presidential Advisory Council on National Orders. And she currently holds a position on the board of the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator and chairs its citizens' forums. Since stepping away from academia, Dr. Phakeng also has embraced a new role of businesswoman. So I am absolutely ecstatic and very excited to be chatting to you today, Mamokgethi, or Kgethi as your friends call you, or even yes, as a lot of your followers call you. They call you mother. They call you all sorts of, yes. So thank you for joining me today. It's a wonderful to get to know you over the last. I mean, we've been speaking for I think over a year now around empowering women in various ways, and we were lucky enough to have met you at some of our Women in Tech meetups here in Cape Town. So tell me, Mamokgethi, tell me a little bit about yourself. So introduce yourself just to our audience today, those who have been living under a rock and haven't heard of you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll ask you questions around just your career and your journey. But welcome to our fireside chat today.
All right. I'm a mother, a sister, an academic, and a businesswoman, and everything else that you said. When I was born in Eastwood, in Pretoria, Eastwood doesn't exist anymore. It's a place where Black people were forcibly removed in 1966. At the end of 1966, that's when I was born, before they moved, because they moved to Ga-Rankuwa in 1967. So I grew up in Ga-Rankuwa, but I was born in Pretoria. And I mean, like anyone my age, I have a village, a township, and where I sleep now. My village is Marapiani. That's a village of my paternal grandparents, where I spent most of my life at, and I started school under a tree at. It's a village towards, it's not really towards Limpopo, it's somewhere on the border of Limpopo, Northwest, and Gauteng. It falls under Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Gauteng. It falls under Mpumalanga at the moment. And yeah, I went to school there, and in Ga-Rankuwa and in Mafikeng. I grew up. I really grew up in apartheid, so I know the homeland system. It happened to me whilst I was a teenager, and I went to school to one of the homeland universities, undergrad, and all my postgrad at Wits University. And now my suburb is either in Cape Town or Johannesburg. I live in 2 cities at the moment. Yes, Melissa. And I said to my mother, Melissa, I've got 5 kids. I've got 5 children. Wow. Been pregnant once, but I've got 5. Those are the human beings that over the years look up to me for dinner, for breakfast, for school, for the first trip overseas, for the first car, for everything. And yeah, so that's me.
Tell me the title Deputy Mother, where did that come from?
It started when I was still at Wits. I was an academic at Wits for 12 years. That's where I became a professor. Many people don't know, but that's where it started, because I have an incredible liking. I love young people, and perhaps that explains why I have so many children that are my children, even though I was pregnant only once. That one of the students said, I run to you whilst I'm at school for everything. You are like my deputy mother. And she started calling me a deputy mother, and I sort of liked the title, and I then decided, when I became vice chancellor, to reclaim it, to make it public, so that every other student, like Annelisa, felt that I'm her deputy mother, whilst she was at Vets and I was a professor there, being deputy mother for others. That everyone can know, that all of the students can know that I can be their deputy mother. When you're deputy mother, Melissa, you don't have all the rights that the mothers have. You've got the privileges, but not all the rights. Some of the rights, and so I exercise those. And I think the young people of this continent, not only in South Africa, this continent, have embraced that, and I'm grateful for that.
That's amazing. No, and I think it really comes across that you have a very motherly energy. Um, even being quite high up executive in academia, which sometimes has a perception of being unapproachable, or you are the opposite of that. You're very approachable. I've always followed you on your social media, where you go and give candies to students at the library when they're studying, or
Yeah.
meeting some of your bursary candidates at the airport. And I think you've changed the way that people see academia. So that is really, for me, just inspiring to watch. But tell me, when you were a little girl and you were sort of, you're saying you were studying and learning under a tree,
Yeah.
what what inspired you to follow a career in mathematics and academia?
It's interesting. Some people would be inspired to follow that. For me, mathematics was a hiding place, to be honest, Melissa. Everything else was hard, because everything else required me to commit a lot of information to memory. And mathematics required very little of that. And because it required very little of that, became a safe space for me, because it became a space where I can excel. So it was the only subject that I knew for sure that I would do well, that I felt in control of. And of course, that didn't come from the beginning. I mean, it was really the teacher I think we're doing grade 10. At that time, it was standard 8. And we're having winter schools. And my mother decided that I should go to a winter school that was teaching mathematics, even though at my school, in Odi High School in Garankuwa, they were teaching physics. She sent me to a winter school where I can do maths. And the teacher who was teaching us there, Mr. Mokoni, still alive, was so brilliant, introduced us to geometry. And in the way he introduced it, he made it sort of it was easy for me. He's introducing me to mathematics and how it works, because it wasn't just explaining what a theorem is, what an axiom is, what are the differences, and how do you recognize a theorem, and how do you prove a theorem. It was also, how do you know? Can you look at a problem, a solution that you have worked with? After you looked at the problem, you work on a solution. Can you look at your solution and say, I think there's something wrong with this solution. I might not know what the right solution is, but I can see this is not right. So he helped me develop a habit of mind, an important mathematical habit of mind that allowed me to feel safe, to feel that I'm in control. And so mathematics became my hiding place. At that time, during apartheid, Melissa, there was nothing like we didn't know that there's something called engineering, actuarial science. The professions were very limited. You could either be a policeman, a teacher, or a nurse. And then there was something like doctor came to the fore. The Medunsa Sefako University was built whilst I was in high school already, and it's not far from my home. The Technikon Tshwane University of Technology, which used to be Setlogelo Technikon, was built just across the road from my parents' home. And so some of these professions were coming up. We didn't know them. And so my parents thought I should be a doctor. But I didn't like biology. I just couldn't commit. I couldn't remember all the veins and all the bones and all the muscles, their names and everything. I couldn't commit all of that to memory. But with mathematics, I knew that if I have the big idea, then I can use the big idea to, and that's what inspired me to go into mathematics, because I felt that it's a safe space for me. It pains me today to see many children running away from it because they think it is a scary place. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so committed and passionate to getting more children into mathematics, so that I want them to love it. I want them to be exposed to what it is, not just what it will give them access to, not just what will make them be, but just how beautiful it is that you can solve a problem, you can check whether it's correct or not, and we can walk out of the test or exam room saying, I know I nailed it. I might not have 100%, but I know for sure that I got most. I used to tear up question papers, even at varsity, after the maths test or the maths exam, because I would be like, I passed that. But I couldn't do that for biology. I couldn't do that for biology because the things in memory, I just couldn't get it. But mathematics was a hiding place.
I completely get that. So like it's, if you knew the formulas, if you knew like you said, the basic formulas, then you don't have to spend so much time memorizing all the dates and the facts and the things, but you actually could solve any problem because you had the basic formulas.
And it's really what the form, not, I usually say the big idea, because the big idea is not always the formula. Because you cannot, let's just take a simple thing as the Pythagoras theorem. The theorem of Pythagoras. I mean, you've got to understand how does this work, because the question of that where you need to apply the Pythagorean theorem might come either way, and you've got to be able to draw it. So there are important things that you need to know. You need to know what a right angle triangle is. You need to know what a hypotenuse is. If you know those two, you are fine. Then you can solve any problem that comes that needs you to apply the theorem of Pythagoras. And that's what I tell young people. Look, you don't have to memorize all of it. You don't have to memorize all the problems that will require you to use the theorem of Pythagoras. You need to get the big idea. What's the big idea with this? Any circle geometry, what's the big idea with it? And can you use that big idea to solve any problem that will come with? And I think it's in a way similar in real life and with problem solving in real life. There are big ideas that you can draw on, that you don't have to rehash the same thing. The building blocks are the same. So you need to know, do you fit in stuff there, or do you build from scratch?
No, I agree with you. And I wanted to kind of also address, just the state of employment in South Africa and across Africa. And we see that there is a huge gap, still a skills gap when it comes to employability and what's being taught at schools, at university, specifically in the STEM field. There's really still this, I would say, gender gap when it comes to girls and women choosing STEM and choosing mathematics as a subject or as a career or as a field to, pursue. What do you think can we do, knowing the experience and what you've seen in the academic world, to help bridge that gap?
For me, there are simple things that you can. The first one is, if you don't have any good thing to say about maths, science, engineering, and technology, don't say anything at all. The biggest sin in our context, in our continent that we do with making sure the students don't get into those areas is because everybody feels comfortable saying how bad they were in mathematics, science, and technology. In mathematics in particular, people just say I was bad. Nobody owns up to have been bad at geography or Afrikaans or sewing, for goodness sake. Everyone thinks it's comfortable. In fact, some people flaunt it as a badge of honor. And I think the first thing you do, you've got nothing good to say about mathematics, don't say anything at all. Okay? Only tell us if it, and here's the reason why. Imagine the top CEO in our country, a top CEO standing on stage with young people, a lot of young people respecting them, and them saying how bad they were at maths or science. And all the young people thinking, oh, I don't have to do that. I can just do what Uncle Caesar did and still be a CEO, or what Auntie Martha did, and I can still be good. So that's why it's not a good idea to own up to not having been good at maths or science. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we've got to start making, sort of preaching this idea that education changes life. It doesn't change your life because it gives you a job. It changes lives because it gives you skills. It teaches you how to learn. It gives you confidence. It gives you the tools that you can use to do other things and not be locked into just being one thing. I think we've got to start talking about that. I think the discourse in our continent is hugely problematic because it creates this thing that go to school and the job will be waiting for you. Oh no, it doesn't work that way. You can go to school how much ever you want. You can go to the top universities in the world. When you come back, I'm sorry, you're going to find us here. You're going to stand in the queue with us and compete with us, even though we didn't go to the top university. So, but what it will do, if you have the mindset that go to school, get the skills, and then use those skills to sell yourself, or sell those skills and make a living out of selling those skills. I think that's how we must sell education. Not the idea that government is going to give you. Am I saying government should not create jobs? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying our young people should stop being just getting the degree and then waiting. What a shame. And any university that produces graduates that stand in the corner and ask for a job need to reflect on what is it that they're doing, because it's bad education. A good education endows you with confidence, with knowing how to learn, with skills that you can sell, with problem identification capacity and knowledge, and problem solving skills, and then you can sell that and make money and make a living. And I'm talking from experience, Melissa. I've changed careers too many times to know that.
Absolutely. And I love how passionate you are about this, which means that you care. You're like really like an advocate for this educational change that needs to happen. And I love that we need more people like you to really be at the forefront and be visible
Yeah,
and be approachable,
yeah,
because like you said, you want to have those role models, someone, the
yeah,
CEO or the person standing on stage saying, maths is actually cool. This is what you can do for
yeah,
your career. This is how you can advance, and these skills are transferable across industry sectors. And talking about industry sectors, technology
mm,
is the future.
yeah,
It is going to be in every
yeah,
career, whether you're a doctor, a sports person, a farmer, a nurse. Like, it
yeah,
doesn't matter what career you're in, technology is going to have a role to play. And
yeah,
unfortunately, that also means that looking at AI, robotics, fourth industrial
yeah,
revolution, the job world is going to change and look differently.
absolutely.
Some of the jobs that our children will be doing doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So how do you think we, as parents, can motivate our children to do math, to do science, to take on the challenge of technology, and to prepare for the unknown future? So how do you think is the best way of promoting it?
You know, I think first of all, I want to say, we just like I say, education is an equalizer. I want to say technology is an enabler. And any opportunity that we have to encourage our children to get into technology, use it. If you have money, I mean, I know many parents think that handing over your smartphone to your child is not a good thing. It's a good thing. It depends what they do with the phone. Many parents think that being on social media is a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's what you do when you're on social media. So rather than just lock these things from your children, I would say teach them how to use them, or teach them the ethics of managing, the ethics of social media and being in those spaces, because you'll be amazed what you learn. I mean, just like I would say to universities, by the way, I mean, generative AI is disrupting the higher education world big time, and so it must actually. ChatGPT, I said to some group of academics I was talking to online in the UK some time ago, and I said, um, uh, what you see ChatGPT doing now is a picnic compared to where we get into, and that's good, because without that, university education will remain stagnant and stale. So it's a good thing that technology is doing this, and it's ruffling the feathers, and therefore forcing us to think carefully, whether at university, to think about what do we teach, why do we teach it, how do we teach it, why do we assess, is it even necessary to assess in the way that we are assessing? The children sit in an exam hall, a dark cold exam hall, writing an exam. Is it the way to test whether they have acquired the skill and the knowledge? Maybe not. And ChatGPT is teaching us that. So I think that's good. I think parents need to also open the way, because you'll be surprised what they learn online. I mean, I do sessions online where I address here on Instagram, on different platforms, as part of the Geneva Science and Anticipatory Science and Diplomacy Anticipator. I'm on the board of that. I run sessions with well-known, high-caliber scientists teaching young people about the advances in science and technology, because the advances are so fast in an unprecedented manner. And so to say to young people on the continent, it's important that you know what's going on. We even run challenges online. But if you're not on social media, your child will never know. So get them on social media. Get them to see what podcasts they should follow. Create a window that sometime before dinner, after dinner, everyone listen to their podcast. During dinner, someone tells us about what came up in the podcast that they're following. That you can create these things at home that children get to learn, and then they get to realize, oh, so there's this it doesn't only happen to happen at school. It can happen at school, but can happen at home as well. So if you're a parent, take it in your hands and create these opportunities. Don't just say, this is a sin, this is a sin, don't do that. Look at it, understand it, and say to them, there's some things to learn here, and there is dangerous stuff to learn here. That's just how the world works. The world has got good and bad. So does technology. So this is how you spot the bad, and this is how you spot the good. And when you've spotted the good, you follow them, and this is how you engage, and this is how you learn. And I think what the growth in technology is doing is actually encouraging us to do that. Of course, there's a danger to it, Melissa, in the work that you do in science and technology, and I'm glad to be part of Women in Tech, because my hope is that I get to share some of the work that we do with the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator, because some of the things there are no even global guidelines. There are no global guidelines on how some technology or science that's been developed to solve a particular problem, suddenly it can be used for bad. Just like when fire came into being, it's good. We can start fire, cook, and so on, but it can burn buildings, right? But so does technology that's developed, or science that's developed to develop more stem cells, for example, to cure cancer or whatever it is. It can be used for bad. So
Yeah.
there are no rules, and so we've got to find ways. And I think social media platforms are a way, women in tech platforms are a way to share the information, and for people to get exposed, and young people to understand that it's powerful, but it can also be you can also be left behind, but there can also be downsides to it.
That is great. No, I love your insight into that about technology, innately is neutral. It's not either good or bad, but it's what
Yeah,
we choose to do with it, which makes it
very
either
true,
good or bad. So
very true.
it's really interesting to hear that, because I think it's so true, and it kind of makes you think, what are we doing with the technology? That's and how are we teaching our children to navigate the world now? So no, I love that. So we went to Dubai and to Sharjah in
Yeah,
November last year, as
yeah.
part of the Women in Tech Awards, where we surprisingly, we didn't know, so no one knew, because I wasn't even privy to the fact that you actually won the
Not knowing
lifetime.
is an understatement. I didn't even think I'll make it global. Come on, Melissa. I
It was
never
such
thought.
a great moment, and I just wanted to. I was so proud. We were in tears, like so happy that we actually
Yeah,
won two global awards from our
yeah,
Africa region. So we have
yeah.
the twins that obviously won for the inspiring teen, and we had the
Yes,
lifetime achievement award. So that was amazing.
it was very
What did
special.
you feel like? Why do you think also it's important to have these recognitions? And what is it? What did you want to sort of? How did you describe what that moment felt to you like?
Melissa, it was so incredibly special. I mean, I have won many awards, many awards. And this was special because it was saying lifetime achievement, but it was also that it was what it recognizes, the fact that it recognizes the work that one is doing to take more women with me, uh, to go ahead of me and all of us and achieve highly in science. And and I hadn't looked back at the work that I have done, the science and mathematics work that I've done over the years, just developing people, just creating opportunities for people, raising funds, getting, whether I was at UNISA, whether I was at VETS, whether at UCT, and some of the programs that people are benefiting from, even today, people don't even know that I created them, and women are benefiting from them. And so the recognition sort of says it's worth it, it's worth it. And it says to other people who are passionate about this work, this is not a waste of time, this is important. Because if we don't do this work of recognizing women in tech, we we actually invisibilize the work that the women in tech are doing. By recognizing it in this way, in the very special way that women in tech does. I mean, it was very special. I've been into many awards, but women in tech, my God, it's like in that, recognizing them in that special way says the world needs to realize that this work is important. This work is not easy. This work is important. So keep doing it. And those of you who have benefited from this work, start doing it, pay it forward. Because the more of us do it, the better the world can be, the more women in science we can have. And Melissa, we haven't yet even highlighted the importance of why women in science. And here's the thing, there are so many scientific inventions that historically had ignored women, that led to the inventions not being good enough, whether it's the seat belts, it leading to more people dying because simply because it was modeled on a body of a man. So it's important when people say, but why women, why that? It's important so that the women's voice is there in the laboratory, in the innovation team, in the development team, in every other team, so that whatever innovation we come up with serves an inclusive group of people. If we don't do this, we will continue to have innovations that don't necessarily serve women. So it was very special, and I will never stop saying thank you to Women in Tech. It's an amazing platform. I mean, not only did I meet amazing women, I mean, I followed them on social media. I'm amazed at the work that even the women who didn't win the global awards, that's the women who were shortlisted at the global award, that I interacted with. That, my God, women are doing amazing things. They're doing it with very little resources. They're doing it sometimes with very little support. They're doing it against pushback by powers that are not wanting women to progress, but they continue doing it, and they continue to make a difference. And thank you to Women in Tech for recognizing us women in such a special way.
You're very welcome, and it's our pleasure, obviously, to put a spotlight on deserving women doing these amazing things. So I do have a question that's come through from one of our viewers, and the question is, I think it probably fits in line with what you just said around, women doing good things regardless of pushback, regardless of support. The question is, how do you navigate corporate politics? Now, this is a difficult one. Maybe you can give us some advice. We all want to know.
I think the first thing, I think the first thing, looking back, I would say we shouldn't wait until it's time to navigate. I think those of us who are working with the women, young women, we've got to tell them the truth. And I'm saying that, Melissa, because sometimes I've been writing my book, and I say, I wish someone had told me that working hard and being excellent is important, but it is not sufficient. There'll be politics. The higher you go, there'll be politics. And you've got to manage those politics. Okay. And oftentimes we're not truthful to young women about the fact that the higher you go, the more intense the politics. And so to manage them, don't walk away from them, even if it's the politics of structures and systems and whatever. Make more friends, endear yourself to the people whose value system you may not even like, whose value system may be completely opposed to you. It doesn't mean you're gonna embrace it and you make it yours. No, it means you're gonna understand it. It means you're going to make endearing yourself to those people in a way that even when time for the slaughter comes, maybe they say, not that one. We know that you want to do that, but don't do it to her, because you know that you are wrong. She's right. Now, if there's one thing I failed at, is managing the capital P politics, the small letter P politics of understanding that everyone has got power to exercise is important. And you've got to learn that. Many people don't get that. That I've got right. But the capital P politics of people with power and money and authority, whatever, that's very difficult. And I miss learning that. And that's one admission that I own up to in my book, because I don't play big letter P politics. I don't belong to parties. If people's value systems don't resonate with mine, I don't get it. I don't get involved. I just stay away, right? I don't endear myself to people because I'm like, these are unethical. They must be out. So I think that's one thing that we don't. That excellence, hard work, commitment, qualification, critical. You must get that. Number one. Number two, learn to manage the politics, the small letter P politics and the big letter P politics. Let's tell them the truth. And if you're going to bash the glass ceiling, know that it's going to hurt. And some of us who are in the front lines, who are here now, who the ones who are in the executive positions now, when it hurts, don't then say, oh, whatever. Well, we are bashing the glass ceiling so that the ones who come after us don't have to do it. So don't cry foul. This is what it is. We want change. You go in there, bash that glass ceiling, deal with the scratches, and hopefully you get other women who will help you, you know, and you can heal quicker, you know, and perhaps that's what we should strengthen. How do we heal? How do we make it better for the women who are bashing that glass ceiling and it's painful, rather than seeing women, after the woman is bashed, when the woman is busy bashing the glass ceiling, other women's making it worse, making the bleeding worse. We've got to learn how to make it better, so that the woman can succeed, and the ones who come after us can get better. I see that someone is saying, provide me with the book on my book is still under publication. It's my autobiography is entitled, it's not in publication yet, it's not announced yet, but it's The Disruptive Presence.
I love
And
that.
I talk about my life from the beginning to the time of my leadership, from the time I retired from executive job at UCT. And it's because my whole life has been a disruption. You know, Melissa, I was born in a sack. I'm one of those children who were born in a placenta. Okay, as the Buddha would say, "Ek was in die sak gebore." I didn't know how special that is, but it's a life of disruption, of making change, of you know, culturally you are meant to be this or that, but it's not an easy life. But if you're there, you in the front line, keep going. I'm still thinking about how do we create a space for healing for women executives who are bashing the glass ceilings, not those ones who are assimilating to the mainstream culture, to patriarchy, simply because they want to get ahead. Those who are change makers and those who want to see things change, so that the women who come after can actually come in and we can have real change, not only in the C-suite, but all across our society.
I absolutely love that. I think it's so relevant. And you won't believe the conversations we have on a daily basis with
Yeah,
women globally. This is
yeah,
not just a local issue, where they're
true.
saying, you know what, I'm having issues at work and it's my boss, and my boss is a woman. And it's you get those unfortunate toxic
Yeah,
relationships sometimes. And how do you navigate that when it's not even
yeah,
um a gender thing, but it's actually supposedly your sister or your ally that's supposed to be on your side and making things worse. But
yeah.
I think when you write your book, maybe put some advice in there for us
True.
to navigate this world of of corporate politics and of career progression, and doing it with
Yeah,
grace and ease, which I know you make it look easy, but it's very hard. So
very hard.
yeah. So just finishing off, because we're almost at the end of our live chat today.
Mhm.
What's
Yeah.
next for you? So tell us a little bit about some of the projects that you're busy with. What are you doing? What can we look out for? How can we support you? You mentioned your book, but what are you up to at the moment, and how can we sort of keep in touch with you going forward?
Yeah, I mean, writing is something that I'm doing, and I'm hoping that my autobiography comes out this year. But the other thing that I'm doing is that I said I'm now in business. I unfortunately can't contribute to academia in South Africa, because South Africa somehow thinks they don't need my academic prowess, despite the fact that the tax money has been spent on getting me to where I am. But I continue to contribute to academia elsewhere on the continent, and that's amazing, right? I continue to work with women across the country and elsewhere in the world, and I continue to work with the the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator. And in this Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator, I'm heading the Citizens Forum, getting anybody, people on the ground, engaged with the developments in science and technology. That's what I'm doing. That's what I've chosen to do in the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator, because science grows, Africa gets left behind, women gets left behind, the people at the bottom gets left behind. And so I do that. But I'm also in business. So in business, I'm doing entertainment. You'll be surprised how many executive producers I talk to in a day, not only in South Africa, but elsewhere also. I won't say which country, but there's a country that I've been working with quite a bit. And then there's and I'm in agriculture and then food. That's so far what I'm doing. I continue to engage with other businesses that I'm passionate about. People know that I'm passionate about fashion, about beauty, about whatever, but I don't go into things blindly. I'm still exploring those. So if, in the next whatever I say, here's something that I'm doing, that would be great. When it comes to food, of course, my passion for supporting the poor and the marginalized is a constant throughout in my education work, in my science and tech work, in everything, and in the food work that I'm doing. The aim here is to get quality, affordable food accessible to the poor and the marginalized. That's what I'm working on. Can we make sure that low and middle class families, low and medium income families get their food, irrespective of what the amount of grant it is? If they get a 350 grant per month, can they get a food that lasts them for a month in the 350? And that's the formula that I'm trying to solve at the moment with the team, of course. But that's what I'm passionate about at the moment. Besides, the exploring the many talents that I have. It's an amazing space to be, and this is what I say to young people: you're never one thing. So don't you ever think that the fact that you studied sociology or chemistry, that's the only thing you can be, is the laboratory. Right? You can do a whole lot of things with that knowledge of holding your own in the laboratory, and so I'm using my other talents to do that. How do you support me? Watch this space. Keep watching your television. I've been doing shoots since last year. Very soon we'll announce. Keep watching. They will come around. The food business will come online. I'll put them up on my social media pages. Keep following. I keep doing the work of the science and anticipatory work with Jester, and you can support me by joining their sessions. And saying, how do we get more of our society involved in the science and technology advancements that are happening in our world today?
Thank you so much, Mamokgethi. It has been a pleasure talking to you today. We will certainly look out for all of your new endeavors. And I can also vouch for the fact I studied science. I've got a human science degree. I studied psychology. But then when I was in my 40s, I pivoted and I studied blockchain and AI. So you never know.
You never know.
You
never know.
You never know.
And many people think, oh, look at you, Melissa. Not only are you are running a whole entire Women in Tech, getting other people on. It's amazing.
It is crazy what you can get accomplished if you have the right mindset and the right support. I didn't do it alone. I've got a fantastic team. And we also have, for those listening, a platform. We actually have a Women in Tech mobile app. It's called Women in Tech Hub. So you can download that and you can be part of our network. It's a free membership. We have access to so many wonderful programs, including mentorship, including soft skills training. We're launching our academy soon, crowdfunding, and awesome events. So definitely follow the WIT Hub. I'll put it in the links below. But it has been such a pleasure, Prof, to speak to you and to talk to you and to enjoy your stories, because I know that you have really done a lot, and we can just applaud you and say it's amazing. Keep going, and you have got our full support to keep doing your good work. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I really appreciate the support and the conversation today. Thanks everyone for joining.
Bye.
Bye-bye.